The sun had barely risen over the calm ocean when a small group of fishermen noticed something unusual near the rocky cliffs. At first, they thought it was a large seal or maybe a drifting log, but as they got closer, they realized it was something far stranger. There, struggling against the waves, was a creature unlike anything they had ever seen. Its body was massive, covered in thick fur that shimmered oddly in the sunlight, and its eyes glowed faintly with a color that seemed almost unnatural. It looked like a lion, but larger, stronger, and somehow more powerful. Yet there was a fear and exhaustion in its movements that spoke of deep suffering. The fishermen were both amazed and terrified. They had never seen a creature like this before, and yet they could not ignore it. Some of them wanted to leave it alone, afraid of getting hurt or attracting trouble. But one brave fisherman decided to call the local authorities. Soon after, a small team of marine biologists arrived, curious and skeptical. They had heard the reports of strange signals on the radar, but seeing a living creature like this made them question everything they thought they knew about the world. The team observed from a safe distance, taking photos and notes. The creature was clearly exhausted, its movements slow and unsteady. Waves crashed over its back, pulling it toward the deep water, but it fought with determination. It lifted its massive head, shook the water from its fur, and roared, a sound that echoed across the cliffs and frightened even the most experienced scientists. It was a cry for survival, raw and urgent, and those watching could not help but feel a deep sense of empathy as the hours passed. The biologists noticed something else that puzzled them. Near the creature, strange tracks and markings were visible on the rocky shore, unlike anything left by normal animals. There were small, glowing objects scattered nearby, and the air seemed to hum faintly, almost like electricity. One scientist, an older man with years of experience in marine life, whispered that he had never seen anything like it in all his years. The possibility that this creature might be from another world began to take hold, and for the first time, fear mingled with wonder in everyone present. The creature struggled tirelessly. Each wave threatened to drag it further into danger, and each time it fell back, it tried to climb again, refusing to give in. Its strength was incredible, but it was clear it had been abandoned or left behind, forced to survive alone in an unforgiving environment. No one knew how long it had been in the water, and no one could predict how much longer it could endure. The thought that some unseen beings had left this magnificent animal to suffer alone filled everyone with a mix of sadness and anger. Despite the danger, the humans could not turn away. They offered food from a distance, threw ropes in an attempt to help it stay close to shore, and whispered words of encouragement. The creature, cautious and wary, responded in small ways, pausing to watch, moving closer when it felt it could trust, and occasionally letting out soft, almost mournful sounds. It was becoming clear that this was no ordinary animal. Its eyes held intelligence, and its actions suggested that it understood the humans were trying to help Dot by late afternoon. A storm began to form in the distance. The clouds rolled in quickly, dark and heavy, and the waves grew taller and more violent. The situation became critical. If the creature could not find shelter, or if humans could not reach it in time, it might be lost forever. Tension gripped everyone on the cliffs. The scientists argued about the best way to act. Should they risk going closer in the rough waters, or should they wait and hope the creature survived? Meanwhile, the fishermen held their ground, unwilling to abandon what they had discovered. As the sun dipped lower, painting the sky with shades of orange and red, the creature made a final, desperate attempt to pull itself toward a small ledge. Every movement showed both fear and determination. The humans could only watch, hearts pounding as it strained against the powerful waves. There was a silence, almost sacred, as everyone waited for the next moment. Would it survive this battle with nature, or would it be dragged away into the endless sea? In that moment, a sense of connection grew between humans and the creature. They were no longer just observers. They were witnesses to something extraordinary. A being from another world, struggling to live, had captured their attention, their compassion, and their imagination. No one could have predicted what would happen next, but everyone knew that they could not leave it to face the ocean alone. Something extraordinary was unfolding, and it was only the beginning of a story that would change everything for those who were watching. The following morning, the team of biologists and the fishermen returned to the cliffs, determined to see if the creature had survived the night. The storm had passed, leaving the ocean calm, but littered with seaweed and debris. The first thing they noticed was the tracks on the wet rocks, leading toward a small, hidden cove. It was clear that the creature had managed to drag itself out of the dangerous waves, using sheer strength and instinct to survive. The scientists examined the tracks and the marks on the cliffs. There was something unusual about the patterns that did not match any known animal on Earth. The biologists exchanged puzzled looks. One of them pointed to faint, glowing lines that seemed to form a sort of map or trail. No one had ever seen anything like it. The creature, they realized, might not only be extraordinary in size and strength, but possibly not from this planet at all. As the team discussed their findings, the creature appeared from behind a rock, cautious and wary. Its body was battered from the struggle, with cuts and bruises on its powerful limbs. Despite its injuries, it moved with careful precision, avoiding the humans at first, but watching them closely. Its glowing eyes seemed to communicate a mixture of fear, intelligence, and curiosity. For a moment, the humans could almost believe that the creature understood them. The scientists decided to observe it from a safe distance, carefully documenting its behavior. They noted how it searched for food, catching fish with its powerful paws, and using rocks to crack open shells. The lion beast displayed a level of problem-solving that was astonishing. It seemed to learn from every attempt, adjusting its approach when the first attempt failed. The humans could not help but feel a growing respect for this creature. Despite its fearsome appearance, as the day went on, it became clear that the lion beast had been abandoned, left to survive on its own. Stories from local fishermen suggested that the creature had appeared suddenly one night, during a strange event where lights were seen in the sky and odd sounds echoed over the water. The locals whispered about visitors from another world, beings that traveled the stars and occasionally left behind creatures like this one. The humans were unsure whether to believe the stories, but the evidence in front of them was undeniable. The creature struggled not only with hunger and the elements, but also with trust. Every time a human approached, it would retreat, growl softly, or display a warning stance. Yet there were moments when it paused, watching silently as if weighing whether the humans were a threat. The biologists realized that patience was essential. For the creature to survive, they needed to earn its trust rather than force it into safety. Over the next few days, the humans tried various ways to help without frightening the creature. They left food at a distance, carefully avoiding direct contact, and set up cameras to study its behavior. Slowly, patterns emerged. The lion beast had an intelligence that allowed it to remember where food was left and even anticipate the humans' movements. It was learning, adapting, and surviving against odds that would have crushed an ordinary animal. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, the humans noticed the creature acting strangely. It seemed restless, pacing along the cove, its glowing eyes scanning the horizon. Suddenly, it let out a loud, haunting roar that echoed across the cliffs. The sound was filled with emotion, anger, fear, and a desperate call for something lost. It was as if the creature was calling for its companions, for the beings that had abandoned it. The humans felt a chill. They realized the lion beast might have once belonged to another world entirely, and its pain was not just physical but emotional. As the humans observed, they began to wonder about the creature's origins. Could it have been part of an alien mission? Was it an experiment left behind? The glowing markings, its unusual intelligence, and the strange energy readings all pointed towards something beyond Earth. The thought was both thrilling and frightening. They were dealing with a being from another world, abandoned and forced to fend for itself in an unfamiliar environment. Despite the mystery, the humans focused on survival. They knew that the lion beast could not last long without help. The ocean tides were unpredictable, and food was scarce. Every wave that crashed into the rocks was a reminder that the creature was at the mercy of forces much stronger than itself. The biologists debated whether they should attempt a closer rescue or continue observing from a distance. Torn between the desire to protect it and the fear of causing more harm, by the third day, something remarkable happened. The creature, while cautious, allowed one of the humans to come closer than before. It did not run, did not growl, but studied the human silently. There was a moment of connection, brief but powerful. The human extended a hand slowly, and the lion beast did not retreat. It was a sign of trust, fragile and tentative, but significant. The humans felt a sense of hope. They were no longer just observers. They were becoming allies, helping a creature that had been left alone to survive in a harsh, unfamiliar world. Night fell, and the humans left the cove, but their minds were filled with the creature's presence. They could not stop thinking about what they had witnessed, the intelligence, the pain, and the resilience of a being from another world. They knew that the days ahead would be challenging, that every decision could mean life or death for the lion beast. Yet there was also a sense of purpose. They were part of something extraordinary, a story that would be remembered for years to come, as the stars appeared in the sky. The humans looked up and wondered if the beings who had abandoned the creature were watching from afar. Somewhere out there in the vast universe, the lion beast's companions might exist. And somewhere, perhaps, the story of its survival would connect worlds, bridging the gap between humans and beings far beyond their understanding. In that quiet night, the humans made a silent promise. They would do everything they could to help the lion beast survive, to protect it from the dangers of the ocean, and to ensure that it would not face abandonment again. The journey had just begun, and the bond between humans and this extraordinary creature was growing stronger with every passing moment. Days passed since the humans first saw the creature, and it became clear that survival was becoming more difficult for the lion beast. The ocean was unpredictable, tides rising higher than usual, and storms passing through the area without warning. The creature had learned to move carefully, but the environment was relentless. Rocks were slick with algae, waves crashed unpredictably, and food became scarcer as smaller fish moved away from the turbulent waters. Every movement the lion beast made was a struggle, yet it refused to give in. The humans continued to observe, fascinated by the creature's resilience. They noticed patterns in its behavior, how it rested on high rocks during the hottest hours, how it hunted for food near tidal pools, and how it used its enormous strength to move obstacles blocking its path. The creature seemed aware of its surroundings in ways that far exceeded ordinary animals. The humans speculated quietly among themselves that it was not only intelligent, but perhaps capable of reasoning. It had survived alone for days without guidance, relying only on instincts and a surprising adaptability. One morning, a sudden storm approached the cliffs. The wind howled, and the waves crashed violently against the rocks. The humans feared for the creature's life. They could see it struggling in the distance, being pushed back by the force of the water. Its eyes glowed even brighter in panic, reflecting both fear and determination. One of the scientists, unable to watch silently, suggested sending a small boat to guide the creature toward the shore. Others were worried, knowing that approaching a frightened, powerful animal could be dangerous. They argued, but in their hearts, they all knew they had to act. The humans carefully launched a small inflatable boat into the churning water. They moved slowly, speaking softly to avoid startling the lion beast. At first, the creature froze, watching them warily. It was obvious that it did not fully trust humans yet, but the storm left it no choice. With the tide pushing it toward danger, the creature had to make a decision: fight against the water or trust the humans. Slowly, almost reluctantly, it allowed the humans to guide it. The rope they offered was strong enough to support its weight, but light enough not to harm it. The rescue attempt was tense. Waves splashed over the boat, rocking it dangerously, and the creature resisted at first, thrashing in panic. Its muscles were enormous, and every movement could have overturned the humans. But gradually, it seemed to understand that they were helping, not harming. Inch by inch, the lion beast moved closer to safety. The humans worked as a team, shouting words of encouragement and making sure it did not slip back into the dangerous waters. The connection between human and creature, though silent, was growing stronger. Once the creature was safely on a larger rock outcrop above the waterline, the human stepped back. It panted heavily, exhausted from the struggle, but it was alive. Its glowing eyes softened as it looked at the humans, a moment of understanding passing between them. For the humans, it was a profound moment, a reminder of how fragile life could be and how resilience and courage could overcome even the harshest conditions. For the lion beast, it was a rare moment of relief, a brief pause in an otherwise relentless fight for survival. The days that followed were focused on survival. The humans made sure the creature had enough food, leaving fish and small animals near the cove. They avoided direct contact at first, knowing that trust took time. Slowly, the lion beast began to accept their presence. It started approaching cautiously, sniffing at the food and even watching the humans as they prepared it. There were moments of tension when it would growl or bare its teeth, a reminder that this was still a wild, powerful creature. But gradually, a fragile bond began to form, built on patience, respect, and understanding. One evening, as the sun set in brilliant shades of orange and pink, the humans watched the creature from a safe distance. They noticed it moving differently than before. It climbed the rocks with more confidence, hunted with more precision, and even seemed to anticipate certain movements of the waves. Its survival instincts were sharper, but so was its awareness of humans. It was learning that these strange beings were not a threat. And in that learning, the humans saw something extraordinary: intelligence, emotion, and a capacity for connection far beyond ordinary life. However, survival was not only about food and water. The creature had injuries from the rocky cliffs and rough waves. Cuts and bruises covered its body, and there was a limp in its stride. The humans worried about infection or exhaustion. They discussed ways to help without forcing the creature into captivity. One suggested using natural remedies from the island to treat its wounds. Another proposed constructing a safe, sheltered area near the cliffs. Every decision was weighed carefully, with the creature's well-being as the top priority. Tension grew further when a group of curious locals arrived, having heard rumors of a strange animal stranded near the cliffs. Some wanted to approach it, others wanted to capture it for profit. The humans acted quickly, guiding the locals away and explaining that this creature was special and delicate. They spoke of trust, survival, and respect for life, emphasizing that forcing the animal could endanger it. The locals, though skeptical, left quietly, and the humans realized that protecting the creature was not just about food and safety, but also about secrecy and respect for its unusual existence. Night after night, the humans watched the lion beast from the cliffs. They observed its sleeping patterns, its cautious movements, and the way it interacted with the environment. Sometimes it would pace the edge of the cliffs, gazing at the horizon as if looking for someone or something. Other times it would retreat into hidden crevices, resting after a long day of struggle. The humans felt a mix of awe and responsibility. They were no longer simply observers. They were protectors, witnesses to a life that was extraordinary in every sense. By the end of part 3, it was clear that the lion beast had survived against incredible odds. Its strength, intelligence, and determination had carried it through storms, rough tides, and injuries. The humans had earned its cautious trust, and a fragile bond was forming between species. But the story was far from over. The challenges of survival, the mysteries of its origin, and the possibility of the beings who had abandoned it returning loomed ahead. The humans knew that the days to come would demand courage, patience, and understanding on a level they had never experienced before. The next morning, the humans returned to the cliffs with a plan. They had watched the lion beast struggle for days, and it was clear that leaving it alone was no longer an option. The stormy weather, the rough rocks, and the limited food supply meant that the creature's survival depended on their intervention. They carried ropes, nets, and other equipment, hoping to guide the lion beast safely to a more secure area. Their hearts raced with a mixture of fear, hope, and determination. As they approached, the creature watched from a distance. Its glowing eyes reflected caution, distrust, and perhaps a glimmer of recognition. The humans spoke softly, moving slowly to avoid startling it. Every step had to be calculated, every sound measured. One wrong move could send the creature panicking, and in its strength, it could easily harm itself or the humans. They knew this rescue would require patience and teamwork more than brute force. The first attempt began cautiously. They threw ropes gently toward the lion beast, hoping it would take hold. At first, the creature reacted instinctively. It lunged sideways, roared, and shook its massive head. The humans froze, holding their ground, trying not to frighten it further. Slowly, they backed off and allowed it to calm down. They realized that rushing the rescue could destroy the fragile trust that had been building over the past days. Hours passed. The humans tried again, using a combination of ropes, gentle coaxing, and food as encouragement. They left small piles of fish along the path they hoped the lion beast would follow. The creature watched warily, testing the humans' intentions with careful steps. Then, with a sudden burst of determination, it lunged toward the nearest rope. It was a tense moment. The rope slipped. The creature roared, but it did not retreat completely. The humans encouraged it, and slowly it began to cooperate, inching closer to the secure ledge they had prepared. The rescue required incredible coordination. One human held the rope, while another used a net to guide the lion beast away from jagged rocks. Waves crashed nearby, splashing water over the creature and making the ground slippery. Every movement had to be precise. The humans could feel the strain in their muscles, the fear in their hearts, but they refused to give up. The creature, despite its fear, seemed to understand that they were helping rather than harming it. Each small step toward safety was a victory for both sides. Finally, after hours of careful effort, the lion beast reached the safer area, a small plateau above the cliffs with solid ground and shelter from the waves. It collapsed briefly, exhausted from the struggle, its chest heaving and its eyes glowing softly. The humans stepped back, watching in awe. For a moment, there was silence. The roaring of the ocean seemed distant, replaced by a fragile calm. The creature was alive, safe for the first time in days, and the humans felt a profound sense of accomplishment and relief. In the days that followed, the humans focused on helping the lion beast recover. They provided food, water, and a small shelter made of rocks and branches. They observed its behavior carefully, noting how it adapted to the new environment. Slowly, the creature began to explore its surroundings, testing the boundaries of its safe area. It moved cautiously, but with growing confidence, showing that it was learning to trust the humans more. The bond between humans and the creature grew stronger. They noticed moments of curiosity, how the lion beast would watch them prepare food, how it seemed to recognize specific gestures, and even how it responded to gentle words or soft movements. It was a powerful reminder that connection was possible, even between beings from completely different worlds. The humans felt privileged to witness this intelligence and emotion firsthand. One evening, as the sun set, the humans noticed something remarkable. The lion beast approached the edge of the plateau and let out a low, soft sound. It was not a roar of fear or anger, but something almost like a greeting. One of the humans slowly extended a hand, and the creature did not back away. It sniffed cautiously, then turned its massive head toward the humans, eyes glowing with recognition. It was a small moment, but it symbolized a breakthrough, the first real sign of trust and understanding between species. Despite the success, challenges remained. The creature was still injured, and the humans worried about infection or exhaustion. They debated ways to provide care without frightening it. They also realized that keeping the lion beast safe might attract unwanted attention. Rumors could spread, and curious locals or even authorities might intervene, unaware of the delicate balance required to protect it. The humans knew they had to remain vigilant, balancing care, observation, and secrecy. As the days passed, the lion beast grew stronger. Its movements became more confident, its eyes more expressive, and its behavior more interactive. It seemed to understand that the humans were allies, not threats. Yet there were moments of tension, times when it would suddenly roar, pace, or retreat into hiding. The humans respected these moments, understanding that trust was fragile and had to be earned continuously. They adapted their approach, moving with patience and empathy, learning from the creature as much as it learned from them. The humans also began to notice subtle signs of intelligence beyond survival. The lion beast seemed aware of the tides, predicting waves and moving accordingly. It experimented with hunting techniques, sometimes using rocks or branches to reach food. It displayed problem-solving skills that were remarkable, suggesting that it had been trained or guided in some way before being abandoned. The humans speculated quietly about its origins, wondering what kind of beings could have created such an extraordinary creature, and why it had been left behind. Through all of this, a quiet bond formed. The humans no longer saw the lion beast as just a creature to be rescued. They saw it as a companion, a being worthy of respect, care, and admiration. They shared moments of connection, watching it play with small objects, exploring its environment, or simply resting peacefully after a long day. The sense of wonder was constant, a reminder that the universe was far larger and more mysterious than they had ever imagined. By the end of this stage, the rescue had succeeded in a way that no one had dared hope. The lion beast was safe, stronger, and beginning to trust the humans. But the story was far from over. The mystery of its origin, the challenges of survival, and the possibility of the beings who had abandoned it returning all loomed in the background. The humans knew that their role was not yet complete. They had begun a journey of connection, courage, and discovery, one that would test their patience, their empathy, and their understanding of life beyond their world. After the rescue, the lion beast began to show changes that fascinated the humans. Its trust in them was slowly growing, and it started to respond to their presence in ways that felt almost like communication. Small gestures, like approaching closer during feeding or pausing to observe them, became moments of connection. It was clear that the creature was intelligent, not just physically strong. Every action seemed purposeful, as if it was learning about these humans and the strange world around it. The humans noticed how the lion beast started experimenting with its environment. It would lift heavy rocks to find hidden food, push branches to create small shelters, and even interact with the waves in a playful, yet careful way. Watching it was like seeing a mix of curiosity and strategy. It was learning quickly, adjusting its movements to avoid danger, and using new methods to survive. The humans were amazed. They realized this creature's intelligence was far beyond ordinary animals. One day, the creature approached one of the humans more boldly than before. It sniffed their hand, then stepped back cautiously. The human remained still, speaking softly, and after several tense moments, the lion beast allowed them to touch its fur lightly. The sensation was electrifying. There was a silent understanding, a fragile bond forming, built on patience, empathy, and mutual respect. For the first time, it seemed the creature recognized the humans not as threats, but as allies. The humans continued to provide food, water, and care. But they also began to challenge the creature in small ways, testing its intelligence. They placed obstacles near the cove, observing how the lion beast would solve problems to reach the food. It was fascinating to watch. Sometimes it would drag branches to create bridges. Sometimes it would use rocks as tools. Each success seemed to boost its confidence, and the humans could see its growing independence. Despite this independence, the creature still returned to them, a sign that trust had truly begun to take root. At night, the humans would sit quietly near the cliff, watching the lion beast. The moonlight reflected off its fur, and its eyes glowed softly, giving it an otherworldly appearance. Sometimes it would rest, and sometimes it would pace the edge of the cliffs, scanning the horizon as if looking for something. The humans felt a deep sense of wonder. They understood that this creature had once belonged to another world, and perhaps another life. The loneliness it must have felt, abandoned in an unfamiliar place, was almost unimaginable. The story of the lion beast began to spread quietly among the local fishermen. Some came to see it from a distance, whispering about a strange, glowing creature surviving against all odds. The humans knew they had to protect its privacy. Too much attention could scare it or bring harm. They explained carefully to anyone curious that this was not an ordinary animal, that it required patience and respect. They became guardians, not only of its life, but of its dignity and freedom. With time, the lion beast started showing emotions. It would play with small objects, chase waves, and even exhibit signs of affection toward the humans. Sometimes it would nuzzle gently against the rocks where humans had left food, or approach slowly, watching their reactions. The humans were careful to respect its space, understanding that the trust they had earned was delicate. These small moments were profoundly moving. They realized they were witnessing something extraordinary, an intelligent being forming a bond with humans through care and patience. The humans also began to notice the creature's unique patterns. It seemed to understand the tides, predicting when waves would rise or fall. It experimented with ways to catch fish more efficiently, and even seemed to notice the humans' habits, anticipating when they would bring food or approach the cliffs. Each observation reinforced the sense that the creature was not only intelligent, but capable of adapting and learning in ways that were almost human. Despite these positive signs, the humans remained cautious. The creature still had injuries from the rough rocks and previous storms. Its strength was incredible, but it had limits. The humans discussed ways to help it heal without forcing it into captivity. They realized that true care meant respecting its independence while ensuring its safety. They set up shaded areas, made small barriers to prevent falls, and provided fresh water from safe streams. Every decision was guided by empathy, patience, and observation. One morning, a dramatic moment occurred. The lion beast was exploring a new part of the cliffs when it slipped and fell slightly into a crevice. The humans rushed to help, speaking softly to calm it. The creature froze, tense and alert, but it did not lash out. Slowly, it allowed them to pull it to safer ground. After this incident, a new level of trust was evident. The creature seemed to understand that these humans were not just rescuers, they were protectors. It began to follow them with more confidence, showing a subtle but clear acknowledgement of their role in its survival. As the days went by, the The humans noticed that the lion beast was not just surviving, it was thriving. Its fur grew shinier, its movements more fluid, and its intelligence more apparent. The bond between humans and creature deepened further. They began to anticipate each other's actions, developing a rhythm of trust and understanding. Feeding times, exploration, and even moments of rest became shared experiences, reinforcing the idea that connection across worlds was possible. In quiet moments, the humans wondered about its origins. How had such a magnificent, intelligent creature ended up abandoned in this remote place? Was it part of an experiment or a companion left behind by beings from another world? The questions lingered, adding mystery to their observations. They realized that while they could help the creature survive, they might never fully understand its past. And yet, that did not diminish their commitment. They had a role in its life now, a responsibility that went beyond curiosity or fascination. By the end of this stage, the humans and the lion beast had developed a relationship built on trust, respect, and mutual understanding. The creature had begun to show its intelligence, emotions, and adaptability more openly. The humans had become caretakers, allies, and companions in a story that was extraordinary in every sense. They understood that the journey was far from over, but for now, there was hope, connection, and the promise of even greater discoveries. Days passed peacefully at the cliffs, with the lion beast growing stronger and more confident in its environment. Its relationship with the humans had deepened into a bond of mutual respect and trust. The creature explored the plateau with curiosity, hunted skillfully, and even seemed to recognize the humans as allies rather than strangers. Yet there was an unspoken tension in the air, as if someone was watching from afar. One evening, while the humans were preparing food near the cove, a strange light appeared over the horizon. It was not the reflection of the sun or the moon. It pulsed gently, like a beacon, and moved closer with a deliberate precision. The humans froze, their hearts pounding. Could it be the beings who had abandoned the lion beast? Questions and fears raced through their minds. They knew that whatever approached was far beyond their understanding, yet they felt a strange sense of anticipation. The light grew brighter, and soon a figure emerged, hovering above the water. It was unlike any being the humans had seen, tall, sleek, and glowing faintly. Its movements were precise and deliberate, almost as if it were observing, calculating, waiting. The lion beast froze as well, its ears raised, its eyes glowing brighter. For the first time, it seemed to react with recognition, not fear, but a deep, emotional response. It roared softly, a sound that was not threatening, but filled with longing and urgency. The humans held their breath, sensing the gravity of the moment. The beings descended slowly, their presence commanding yet calm. They did not speak in words humans could understand, but their intentions were clear. They had come for the lion beast, but they were not hostile. One of the humans stepped forward cautiously, raising a hand in a gesture of peace. The beings seemed to acknowledge this, pausing, studying the humans carefully. There was a silent communication, a bridge of understanding forming between species. It was a moment of awe and wonder, the realization that life beyond Earth was not just possible, but intelligent and empathetic. The lion beast approached the beings, hesitating only for a moment. Then it stepped forward fully, moving toward them with trust and recognition. Its glowing eyes met theirs, and in that instant, the humans understood that the creature had been part of a family, left behind accidentally or for reasons unknown. The beings did not scold, threaten, or demand. They simply observed, and then, in a gesture that the humans could feel rather than hear, they acknowledged the humans' care for the creature. There was respect and unspoken gratitude, and a quiet sense of approval. For hours, the humans watched as the lion beast interacted with its visitors. It seemed to communicate through gestures, sounds, and movements. The beings responded with subtle changes in light and posture. There was a rhythm to their interaction, a language of emotion and understanding that transcended words. The humans realized that their patience, empathy, and courage had been recognized across worlds. They had not only saved a life, but had formed a bridge between species, showing that compassion mattered even to beings far beyond Earth. After the interaction, the beings prepared to leave. The lion beast followed them for a few moments, then paused, looking back at the humans who had saved it. There was a sense of farewell, but not sadness. It was a moment of connection, a recognition that humans and the lion beast had shared something extraordinary. The beings lifted off, disappearing into the night sky, leaving behind a quiet, glowing aura that slowly faded with the stars. The humans stood in silence for a long time, processing what they had witnessed. Their minds raced with questions, awe, and disbelief. They had seen life from another world, had formed a connection with a creature of incredible intelligence, and had been acknowledged by beings far beyond human understanding. It was a moment that would stay with them forever, a reminder of how vast, mysterious, and interconnected life could be. In the days that followed, the lion beast continued to thrive. It returned to the plateau, exploring, playing, and interacting with the humans. It had survived storms, injuries, and abandonment, only to be reunited, in a sense, with its kind. But it also retained the bond it had formed with the humans. The creature's eyes often lingered on the humans, a reminder of trust, gratitude, and the shared journey they had experienced. The humans took careful notes. documenting behavior, patterns, and the extraordinary intelligence of the lion beast. They did not seek fame or recognition. Instead, they focused on preserving the creature's well-being and ensuring that its story remained protected. They understood that this was not just a story of survival. It was a story of connection, empathy, and the power of caring across worlds. Even as time passed, the humans never forgot the night the beings had returned. The encounter had changed their perspective on life, intelligence, and compassion. They had learned that beings, no matter how different, could feel, recognize, and honor care and courage. And the lion beast, once abandoned and alone, had found safety, trust, and companionship. It was a story of survival, but also of hope, a reminder that kindness and understanding could bridge even the greatest divides. As the sun rose over the cliffs, the humans watched the lion beast explore its home with strength and confidence. It leapt over rocks, tested the edges of the cliffs, and sometimes paused to look toward the horizon, as if remembering the beings who had come for it. The humans smiled quietly, knowing that they had been part of something extraordinary. They had witnessed a miracle of survival, empathy, and interstellar connection. And they understood, deep in their hearts, that the universe held more wonders than they could ever imagine, waiting patiently for those willing to care and pay attention. The lion beast, now safe and thriving, had completed its journey of survival, trust, and reunion. Yet, its story with humans continued a living reminder that life, no matter how strange or otherworldly, could find common ground through patience, understanding, and compassion. The cliffs, the ocean, and the humans would always remember the creature that had come from beyond the stars and found a place among them, forever changing their lives and leaving a story that would inspire awe for generations to come.